Hello. In this video we look at a part of English that adds emotional punch, emphasis or nuance to what we say, namely intensifiers. Let's get one thing straight right away. Intensifiers aren't a special word class like nouns or adverbs. Instead, they're recognized by what they do, not what they are. In other words, intensifiers are defined semantically by function, not syntactically by form. So what do they do? Well, they add strength, emphasis or tone to adjectives, adverbs, and sometimes other elements. They do not modify verbs directly. That's what makes them different from adverbs of manner. Let me show you what I mean. So take these examples. She spoke severely. I dived deeply. Mary complained bitterly. These are adverbs of manner. They tell us how the verb happened, how she spoke, how I dived, and how she complained. Now look at these. That was severely disruptive. That is deeply frustrating. We are bitterly opposed to the idea. They're the same adverbs doing a different job. They're now modifying adjectives, not verbs, and intensifying them, adding emotional weight or precision, and that's what makes them intensifiers. So here's a quick test. Try replacing the word with very. If very makes sense in that spot, you're probably dealing with an intensifier. That is very frustrating. Tick. That's an intensifier. She very drove. That makes no sense because very, like other intensifiers, can't modify verbs. So intensifiers come in different flavors depending on what kind of strength they express. So there are amplifiers. These increase the strength of what they're modifying. They come in two main groups. One, maximizers, which push something to the extreme. That is completely wrong. You are totally mistaken. That is wholly correct. And two, boosters. They raise the intensity, but not to the extreme. You are deeply mistaken. That is severely limited. They were considerably delayed. There are emphasizers. These are all about attitude. They don't necessarily boost the intensity, but they make it clear that the speaker wants to stress something. That is plainly untrue. She's simply wonderful. That's obviously better. Now, there's a test for this also. If you can use the word in a sentence like, she didn't altogether enjoy the party, but she enjoyed it a bit, it's likely an amplifier. Try doing that with an emphasizer. She really didn't enjoy the party, but she enjoyed it a bit. That doesn't seem right. It doesn't work. That's because emphasizers don't fit into that kind of contrast structure. It's a good trick to keep in mind if you're trying to identify them. There are downtoners. These reduce the intensity of what they modify, and we can break them into three groups. One, compromisers. They suggest uncertainty or hedging. For example, that's quite nice. He's sort of friendly. That's usually okay. They often appear alongside other hedging words, so that's more or less okay, I think. The music might have been quite loud. There's diminishers, which reduce the effect or importance, so that's mildly interesting. He's slightly irritating. This is merely technical. And then there are minimizers. They put things at the lowest end of a scale. So it's just possible. That is not in the least entertaining, and that's marginally acceptable. These are generally negative in tone. And then there are the approximators. These suggest that something is close to, but not quite, what it claims to be. That's practically perfect, but not completely. She's almost approachable, but maybe not quite. That's virtually illiterate, but not fully. So intensifiers come in all shapes. Some are simple adverbs like very, totally, deeply. Others are phrases, more or less, not in the least, sort of. But remember, what defines them is what they do, not what they look like. They don't describe actions. They add force, emotion, or subtlety to how we describe things. And once you start noticing them, you'll realize they're everywhere in English. So that's it for intensifiers, tiny words with a big impact. Thank you.